Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. My name is Omri Weiss and I'm a clinical psychologist. I often get asked about Freud's discoveries of the unconscious and later development of his therapeutic method. And the problem with psychoanalytic concepts in general is that they are obscure and difficult to simplify. So lately I had the chance to intertwine my current occupation with my long-time love for films and created this video essay approaching one of Freud's fundamental ideas of the Oedipal complex. In trying to make it more accessible, I turned to my favorite film growing up, Robert Zemeckis' Back to the Future. Okay, so enjoy. If you find this video intriguing, you're most welcome to subscribe and leave your comments. Marty's Oedipal complex stems from his dysfunctional parents, who are a mess to say the least. His father, George, is spineless and ludicrous.
You're right.
George's impotent existence is cleverly represented in the film by his damaged car, which Marty so desperately needs in his striving towards manhood.
Just perfect.
Without a functioning car that is a functioning father,
Hello, anybody home?
George could not be perceived in Marty's fantasy as a superior rival to whom he can eventually submit to and later idealize and identify with. On the contrary, Marty avoids any kinds of confrontation with him and instead seeks alternative rivalries with symbolic representatives of the parental law and authority against which he rebels.
Why even bother, McFly? You don't have a chance. You're too much like your old man.
Marty's mother, Lorraine, also plays a crucial role in Marty's conflict. She seems to be in denial of her husband's infantile sexuality.
What was it, George? Bird watching?
And she herself remains in a juvenile naivety which she maintains by drinking alcohol. Lorraine doesn't encourage Marty's psychosexual development, perhaps out of fear that he will eventually mature and leave her.
I don't like her, Marty.
So, with a somewhat flirtatious and sexually deprived mother, alongside a weak father who seems oblivious to these taboo underpinnings, Marty's unconscious incestuous wishes towards his mother are neither sufficiently repressed nor sublimated. In fact, they remain crude and compressed, overcharged with unregulated drive, which Marty often experiences as overwhelming and destructive.
Rock and roll.
In an effort to reduce his overcharged experience, Marty gradually gives up on his incestuous fantasy and begins to identify with his father's impotent existence. This is a solution of compromise, and the jammed clock tower symbolically represents Marty's psychosexual fixation, which prevents him from crossing the Oedipal hurdle and expressing his sexuality with
Jennifer!
The broader psychological significance of this solution is a growing ambivalence in Marty's experience. So, simply said, when facing reality, Marty adopts an insecure and avoidant approach like his father's.
Just don't think I can take that kind of rejection. Jesus, I'm starting to sound like my old man.
However, at the same time, he tries not to internalize his father's impotence.
Yeah, well, history is going to change.
And so, he is gradually drawn into a compensatory fantasy of owning a grandiose phallus, represented of course by a supercar which travels through time and defies the laws of physics, much like incest defies the essence of social moral laws. But now let's take a step back. In films, as in dreams, as in analysis, the protagonist often needs accompanying when facing early conflicts, even more so when entering deep regressive states necessary for retrieving the repressed back into consciousness.
You trying to tell me that my mother has got the hots for me? Precisely.
From this perspective, it is interesting to think of Doc's character in Marty's dream as an elaboration of his perhaps real role as Marty's psychologist.
This is my doc.
Accompanying him on his journey to the heart of his conflict. It follows that, from a psychoanalytic standpoint, the fictional part of the film involving time travel can be seen as Marty's dream.
It's just a very intense dream.
One in which he embarks on a regressive journey that holds the chance for redemption and change.
Hello.
Good morning.
But not without the risk of losing his true self, or even his very existence, symbolized by the gradual disappearance of his image from the photograph.
Erased from existence.
Moving on, as Marty arrives into the past, his incestuous ambivalence is immediately at play. Although Marty saves his father from an accident while sacrificing himself, by doing so, he in fact takes his father's place as the mother's object of desire.
Do you mind if I sit here?
As the plot thickens, the more Lorraine moves away from George and becomes incestuous with Marty, the more Marty's annihilation anxiety becomes real and apparent. In order to save himself, Marty has to fix the situation fast as time is of the essence. In sort of a father-son role reversal, Marty advises his father on ways to gain Lorraine's love.
Tell her destiny brought you together.
However, at this point of the film, Marty's conflict is manifested by a mechanism of splitting and projection. That is, Marty's aggressive and sexual wishes seem to be too intimidating, even in his own dream, and thus they are split off from his consciousness and displaced onto the character of Beef, a young bully who picks on George and tries to force himself on Lorraine. In the end, Marty's Oedipal drama comes down to the enchantment under the sea dance. Marty plans to initiate an aggressive sexual scene with his mother and instruct his father to act as if he is rescuing her.
It's just an act, right?
However, in the moment of truth, the incest situation becomes too real and intimidating for Marty. Yet, deep in his being, Marty knows that if he is to overcome his Oedipal complex, a sincere submission to his father is necessary.
It makes perfect sense.
As a desperate resort, Marty gets out of the car and now, with his conscience, named by Freud the superego, safely locked away, his own dark side, namely the id as embodied in Beef, can take over.
Well, looky what we have here.
Once this transformation has taken place, all hell breaks loose, and Marty ruthlessly strives to gratify his incestuous fantasy. As George is getting prepared for the fake confrontation with Marty, he surprisingly finds himself dealing with a real and powerful threat. Now, with his back against the wall,
George, help me!
George finally steps up to the challenge of confrontation. The struggle ends with George having the upper hand. In this moment, he establishes himself as a robust buffer, separating between Lorraine and Marty. This metamorphosis in George immediately attracts Lorraine's diverted desire away from her son and back to his father, and enables Marty to mature his way back to the future.